Just waiting for Sim. Hello. Just waiting for Sim to come in. One second. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hey, can you hear me all right and everything?
Yeah, just turn you up. Great, hi.
Awesome. Hey, Sim.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
How's lockdown or semi-lockdown treating you?
Well, it's still going, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. Even just knowing what to call it. Is it lockdown? Is it semi-lockdown? It's not normal, is it?
It's not normal, exactly.
Yeah, it's just not normal. It's going all right. Yeah, it's very busy at the minute for me. Lots going on, lots of stuff to sort out. So I'm kind of sort of glad for the additional time. Although working from home is a challenge because we've got builders next door who are smashing holes out of what sounds like smashing holes out of the wall next door. So trying
Musician's dream.
Yeah, it's not very helpful for actually doing anything, but you know.
Cool. Well, for people joining, and I don't know how much a lot of people here know about Launchpad and what we're doing. It's so essentially it's an emerging talent development program for artists and also music professionals based in Yorkshire. And we've had the pleasure of working with Sim via Launchpad. So we thought we'd invite him on today to do a kind of artist conversation around support for artists, particularly artists, including Launchpad, but also there are things like help musicians do it differently, or they have some other funds, things like PRS Foundation, Momentum Accelerator. So there's like a number of things that Launchpad, what we're doing is offering our program, but also trying to connect artists to some of these other things and help support that. So we thought we'd try and shine a little bit of a light on how these things happen, how they're helpful, and how people can get involved. And what a best way to do that is to hear it from artists that have been through some of that support themselves. So yeah, welcome Sim, and it would be great to hear a little bit about like what you do and what support you've had to begin with, maybe.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Nice to be able to chat. So I've been doing music in Leeds for a long time, just like you have as well. And it's kind of funny, isn't it? When you've been doing it for as long as we have, you know, you kind of think, I hope that that's a good example for people. You know, you have to kind of keep on plugging away and keep on going and keep on doing whatever feels right to you. I've been doing a whole bunch of different things in Leeds for ages. I used to be in a bunch of bands, playing in folk bands, psychedelic bands, funk bands, pretty much anything, reggae bands, whoever would have me really, playing keys and singing sometimes and stuff. But about 5 years ago, really, I started a solo project, which was me as a pianist, going back to my roots really as a classical pianist, and really trying to, I guess, around that time, you'd probably had about 3 to 4 years of growth of interest in people like Oliver Arnold and Nils Fram, Max Richter, and Dustin O'Hara, and a lot of those kind of guys. And I kind of thought, well, actually, I can do stuff like that as well. And I think there's the interest in that kind of part of music has been really interesting. So I've been developing that a little bit, trying to find my voice in that, and yeah, I released an EP in 2016 and then an album in 2017, and have kind of got a bunch of streams and stuff. It's quite playlist friendly music, really. You know, tends to get on quite a lot of nice playlists, and that helps your streaming numbers. So yeah, it's kind of gone quite well, really. I've done a lot of touring with it in the UK and in Europe, and got a lot of radio play as well. So there's been a bunch of different kind of things that have happened, really. And so, yeah, when would it have been? Early 2019, I think, after a couple of really solid years of growing with this stuff, Whiskers from Music Leeds spoke to me and kind of invited me to be part of the Launchpad thing for that kind of first year of of trying stuff out with that, really, and seeing how it went, and seeing how that, I guess, that mentoring or whatever else anyone else was doing might kind of work for them. And so I kind of had that mentoring kind of time with Whiskers and with some other people who are kind of part of the broader Launchpad kind of thing down in Sheffield, the Kicker guys, and yeah, it was very helpful and very useful. I think one of the things that was really interesting is that I've been used to being in bands and being a part of ensembles and groups and stuff like that. I never really thought that I was going to do a solo project. I never really thought that was going to be my kind of thing. I've always been the quiet guy in the back who just makes funny noises and plays nice sounds and doesn't.
Such a different thing, isn't it? To go out and do things on your own and not have that support of other people around you. Totally,
and thinking about being a solo artist is very, very difficult, and personally doesn't really come well. It got better, but I wouldn't say it came massively naturally to me, and I think that's quite difficult, and it took me a long time to work out what I wanted to do, what I was trying to say through my music, and that's even harder when you do instrumental music. If you don't sing, how are you going to convey what you're trying to say without words? And actually having that mentoring support of people who I've known around Leeds for a decade or whatever was actually really helpful, because eventually you sit at your computer, you sit at your phone, you're looking at blogs, you're trying to work out the best way of doing stuff, but eventually you sort of stop believing yourself. You stop believing, am I doing the right thing? Am I going in the right direction? And actually having someone, a sounding board of someone else to help you with that is really important, really.
Yeah, and that's really important creatively, but also in that kind of music industry advice way, isn't it? To kind of try and garner your own path through your own music career. Some people don't want to call it a career, some people do, some people want to commercialize things a bit more, some people don't. It's but I think with all of this kind of support, it's people that are artists that are proactive and want to reach a wider audience in whatever sense, it's worth taking advantage of this kind of thing and trying to apply for this kind of stuff. So I mean, it sounds like, and obviously from what I know and what you're just saying, that you'd done quite a lot before you got to a point where you applied for like Launchpad program. But we see artists at earlier stages than that, people that are about to release an EP or people that are doing different things. So do you think when you applied for it, did you feel like it was the right time for you to get that kind of support specifically, or was there any, there are other things that you were looking to do after that as well?
I mean, to some extent, yes. I mean, in some respects, I felt, I was 31, 32, I was quite, I've been around for a long time, and, I'm old news now, but like, it's in some respects I felt you feel quite experienced about going off somewhere and rocking up to some venue and doing another gig and all of the crap that sometimes comes along with that. But actually in a sense you never do stop learning, and particularly now when I first started doing music, Facebook didn't exist and MySpace was everything, and so like now you have to, particularly if you're an independent artist, now you have to be, your own manager, unless you've got the benefit of one. You have to be your social media expert. You have to understand Spotify and DSPs and all of that stuff. So actually, I think that I wouldn't necessarily say that it's it has to be anyone of a particular age. Although the other thing that I think about Launchpad is that if you were, let's say you were leaving, I don't know, Leeds College of Music or Leeds Beckett or whatever, and at this moment, and going, oh my gosh, how am I going to find a way forward in my music career? That particularly that post uni or post college or school, even that period can be very difficult, because you're going, well, I want to make music. I like to make music. How do I go forward in this? And I think that the opportunities that Launchpad offer through the mentoring thing, or the recording support, or whatever it might be, I think, or production, it will definitely give someone at that kind of stage of their early career a real opportunity to find a way forward, because sometimes just knowing the right path is very, very difficult.
Yeah, I think that's like a really a good way to put it, is like the early career style of it, isn't it? Because, you know, like you're saying, you've done a lot of stuff and you've gigged a lot and you've done lots of previous projects. And as a musician myself, I'm obviously in a similar position where I've done lots of different things and loads of different bands, but my current band is relatively new and we've been through Launchpad and things like that. And I think that idea that you're always learning, and I think learning how to take a bit of control over your own career and your own kind of, you know, instead of kind of waiting for that golden ticket that maybe doesn't exist anymore within the industry and waiting for labels, and actually just saying, well, I'm going to make this happen, but you do need some help with that, because it's, you know, it's hard to find out those things. It's hard to find out like what steps you maybe need to take, and obviously that's like artist specific, that's genre specific. It's like it's a big old complicated thing, isn't it? Being a musician. But yeah.
I mean, the other thing, I mean, like you said there, I mean, you know, genre specific. I mean, you know, what I do is not, I guess you wouldn't say, I mean, it's, you know, most people call it modern classical or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that most of the music industry is not seeing that as a mainstream genre. You know, that is not going to get you on Radio 1. That is not going to get you in the top 40. Is that still a thing anymore? And,
it is, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's not going to happen for someone like me. That is not really what I'm aiming for. But actually, in a sense, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what your genre is, whether you're trying to be a, you know, an amazing, awesome guitar band like Magic Mountain, or whether you're trying to be, you know, like an awesome, you know, rap artist, or whether you're trying to do something folky or jazzy. You know, Leeds is folk scene, jazz scene is wicked, or whether you're doing something like me, which is completely kind of different to all of that. In a sense, it doesn't really matter. That Leeds' strength, and Leeds' strength has always been that there's been such a variety of stuff, and that's like the underground scene. I mean, my music is not underground, but it's, you know, it's independent, like people trying to make stuff happen for themselves. And Leeds has always had that independent spirit for as long as I've been there, since 2005, and people find a way to do stuff. But I think the important thing about what Launchpad is offering really for people is perhaps a way to take that first step, perhaps, or maybe the second step. Maybe you've already done some good stuff, but actually you need to sometimes have some help to kind of push forward or
so, and like some of the things you were just saying there, it seems like, and it is something that we look for, is people knowing what their goals are. That's like a really important part of it. And it's like knowing what your goals are and what's relevant to you right now, learning, you know, at what point you're at, and whether, like you say, that's, you've done an album already, but you're kind of reinventing something or looking for the next step, but you don't maybe have a team behind you and stuff like that. So really independent. Like that's kind of where you and I was at, actually, similar sort of stage. But yeah, other people being much early on stage, but having absolutely great tunes and a solid idea of where they want to go and where they want their music to go, and what their sort of target audiences are, and getting to a point where actually you know what you're aiming for. Like that is that's a really helpful exercise in doing some of these kind of applications, isn't it? You know, I found that a really useful thing to get you thinking about it, whether or not you actually get the support or not, you know.
Absolutely. And you know, throughout that time actually that I was having that mentoring support, you know, I probably had in that time, gosh, maybe over the course of a year, maybe 6 or 7 rejections for different kind of things, funding applications or opportunities. I've had probably at least double that since that time. And
but that shows how proactive you are, to persevere with that, because I've done similar. I don't put in quite as many applications, but I think you've got to learn to almost expect it to maybe not go through first time, improve it, work on your plan, put it back in, and just keep going for it. I think it took us 2 goes to get the Help Musicians Do It Differently fund as well, and to get advice and to get feedback, and not to be put off because it's not necessarily that you aren't good, and you shouldn't take it personally, which is really hard to do as artists. I think it's quite hard to take that sort of rejection, but using it as a learning experience, and eventually usually getting some sort of support somewhere when you're ready for it, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. And actually, I mean, the other thing that I was thinking about with Launchpad, being sort of, kind of coming out of, I guess, Music Leeds and this kind of broader Yorkshire thing really is that, I've had the opportunity to speak to Whiskers from Music Leeds and Tony from Come Play With Me and the guys down in Kicker in Sheffield. And, the more, I guess, the more that you go to stuff, so like the Yorkshire Music Forum conferences, or the what used to be Unconference, should have been the Launchpad thing this year. It's in a sense, it's these opportunities. I remember chatting to you at the Unconference thing last year, and actually part of demystifying all of this stuff about opportunities and funding for artists and stuff like, and people like us is actually having that space to have those conversations with each other honestly, and say, actually, my Instagram might tell a different story, but actually, I'm not going to put up on Instagram that I've had 10 rejections in the last 10 months. But actually, sometimes that's the reality. And
that's kind of the inspiration for some of these conversations is that demystifying kind of process, and trying to make it feel more possible. Not just more possible, but to actually help different artists to see what is available to them and what's most relevant to them, and where they need to be at, to which point they need to be at, which we did like a little useful graphic thing on our Instagram page that sort of says like the different types of funds and at which stage in your career you might be at and what might be most relevant, and and offering drop-in sessions and questions and all of that kind of stuff. And that's really the aim of Launchpad, of Music Leeds, which is what started Launchpad, but it's now gone Yorkshire wide. So and it's a very Yorkshire thing, I think, to I know I personally feel that, to kind of want to be transparent, to want to support, not be in competition, to like kind of all sort of grow together. I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but kind of all be supporting each other, and actually, like you say, having those spaces, which we're having to make online at the moment, so it's a bit unusual, but having those conversations either on panels or publicly, or just grabbing somebody after a gig and saying, oh, how did this gig was amazing, how did you get that, or all of that kind of stuff. And it's an organic sort of thing, and it's a bit of a complex thing, but actually I think once you start to ask other people how they've done things, it feels a bit more possible.
I totally agree. And with you all the way. And I think if you've if like us, Leeds has become our home, where we've chosen to kind of make roots and settle and kind of say, actually, no, we're not going to do the decamp to London thing. We're going to stick it in Leeds. We're going to up the north. Like, we've got good stuff too. And and actually, sometimes you can shout that message sort of out into the internet and ether and whatever. But actually, what I've experienced, over my time in Leeds, is that, I don't know, I always say this to everyone when I speak about Leeds to other people. Leeds is Leeds is different. Leeds is people get behind each other, you know, and again, it's not really about so much a genre thing. Whilst there are great scenes and stuff going on differently in different venues and across different communities in Leeds, actually, you know, still I think that people get behind each other, and you know, and even that collaboration between in different things. You know, I think you're a great example of that. You know, with your new band, you know, like that's awesome. But you know, having played, you know, you used to play with Sam Airy back in the day on, you know, playing cello, you know, playing really different music, you know, and I think that this is really, really important. I think Leeds has got a great story, and I really love the fact that actually the Launchpad thing has sort of grown to encompass more than just Leeds and become this Yorkshire kind of thing. And
yeah,
you know,
definitely.
Like it's not. I don't want to get. It's not like a political thing about like devolution or anything. It's just the North is great, and I think we get a lot more out of kind of staying together really with that, and not just being little pockets of scenes and islands dotted around, but actually the North has got
exactly. And it seems, you know, and that's one of the missions that Music Leeds, Launchpad, Music Local, that everything that's kind of, you know, around the work that we're all doing is that kind of connecting the North, connecting Yorkshire specifically, and kind of trying to make more opportunities and infrastructures, and because we don't have the same infrastructures as there are in London, and there aren't managers, and there aren't as many labels, and there aren't as many, you know, there aren't those kind of industry opportunities, but the kind of the learning, the supporting, the collaborative nature of the musicians, the conversations, like DIY stuff, like community-based stuff. There's like some amazing things going on, and it feels really positive that people are finding new ways. And obviously this year is reinventing all sorts of things, but anyway, like being in the North, or people not having the cash to do stuff, or a big label behind them, or anything like that, it makes you think differently. And personally, I really like that it sort of helps put things in your control a little bit more as an artist, which is hard work. It's really hard work.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's mentally and physically a tough journey, but at the same time, it's really rewarding to learn about it all, isn't it?
Yeah, totally, absolutely. I mean, I was going to say as well, you know, I saw that stuff that Launchpad put out recently, where it was that kind of graphic of, you know, kind of the pathway to
yeah, that's it.
Other opportunities, other things that exist. And, you know, I thought that was really helpful. I thought it was really good to see, you know, I guess because we're also kind of good examples of that, really, where, you know, same for me, and it was the same for you, is that right, with the kind of Launchpad and help musicians thing?
Yeah, going on to do help musicians do it differently, which was kind of the next stage. And now there's a new PPL PRSF fund called Momentum Accelerator, which I think a round is literally just closed for that, and that was like ring fencing specific money for a couple of Yorkshire artists or bands that sort of in between and up to that Momentum fund, which quite a lot of artists and industry people seem to be aware of, but it's a very competitive 15k kind of funding thing. And finding these in between bits and making these stepping stones seems to be what's slowly starting to happen. And then, you know, it was obviously trying to make people aware of that and support people's applications or any of that stuff is just really, really important. And it feels like helpful to go through that process and learn as an artist as well, to kind of think that you can maybe get onto that stage and apply for that funding and not have to specifically just rely on like, are we going to land any label stuff, or can we make enough out of records, touring, streaming, which especially at the moment is unlikely, you know, and all of that kind of stuff. It's, you know, the complex nature of like earning money as an artist and all of that side of it. So obviously the funding is super important, but the actual support and advice, you know, is just as equally important, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And also, in a sense, it's actually yes. I mean, that's the thing. You know, obviously, money is money, and helps. But it is definitely that sense of, okay, you know, someone appreciates what I'm doing. Someone likes what I'm about. Someone enjoys what I'm putting out. You know, and and that ability to, I guess, to trust that people in those positions who have been working similarly in the music industry for a long time, you know, they're supporting you, they're encouraging you to apply for this, you know. Someone like Tony from Come Play With Me, you know, a while ago when I was kind of first starting out with all these funding applications, you know, would send me a random email saying, here's this thing, I don't know if you've seen it, you should apply for this, and then like send me your application form and I'll read it, I'll check it over for you, you know, like I never asked for that. I never was like, help me. You just, you know, there are people around who are like not just doing it because, you know, they want to be seen to be doing that. They're just nice people, and but also they want to support it. They want to grow stuff, you know, like. Yeah. And I really think that you know, growing something that's based here and rooted here, that doesn't need us to kind of, okay, we've got to camp down to London, we've got to bring it back. You know, we've got our own thing here, and we can kind of make it our own, and
then we'll drop the bomb on London.
That's right.
North.
That's right. We've got it sorted. You stay down there, we're fine up here.
Yeah, exactly. Is there any other like support you've had or would like to have, or are thinking that maybe you could move on to, or anything like that?
Well, I mean, I really like the idea of the pathway, and actually, you know, I mean, I applied to the Momentum Accelerator thing.
Oh right, yeah.
Literally sitting by my emails at the moment every day, waiting for that email that doesn't start with unfortunately.
Oh, I know, it's a horrible feeling, isn't it? But then you also know when there's only 2 that are going to get picked or whatever, it kind of makes you feel a bit better if you don't.
You kind of get quite, it's just quite funny, you start getting used to looking at all the different ways that they try and words, thanks but no thanks. Yeah. But actually, you know, I've applied to that, you know, for some funding for my new album, which is, you know, coming later in the year. And, you know, having that ability to see a pathway through is really, really helpful. But actually, even just the process of doing a form, I know it's not super exciting, but just doing that form, doing whatever it is for Launchpad or for Help Musicians or whatever, is actually a really helpful way of working out what you are actually doing. You know, sometimes as an artist, you can just get so caught up in this sense of, well, I'm sitting here playing my songs, writing my music, having a great time, and, you know, I think it's great, and I'll put some stuff on SoundCloud or Instagram and see what happens, which is great, which is all, that's how it starts.
Yeah, it's a starting point, isn't it?
But if you're going to try and, you know, if you try and engage with an audience, move forward, work out how to do that ability to sort of narrow your focus and go, okay, what's my story? What am I trying to do? What am I trying to say? Because there are a lot of people also trying to do and say the same or similar things, and trying to think about that way of making sure that what you're doing has something unique or stands out. Actually, those forms can be a really helpful way of doing that, because you've got like a box and you've got 300 words, and you've got to tell someone you've never met or has never heard of you why that couple of £1,000 or that mentoring opportunity or that you kind of, you know, opportunity to play in some festival, that's going to change your life. You know, it's a big deal, and I'm actually thinking about how to say that succinctly and say it in a way which gets to the heart of the matter. You know, I am a like champion #1 waffler.
I'm a bit like that. It's very hard to be concise.
Yeah, I waffle for Britain, and so actually being able to say, this is who I am, and this is what I am, and this is why I do it. You know, actually, there's simple questions, and that classic bit of advice that I've had from everyone is just, if you're in the assessor's chair and you've got 50 people to choose from, and you can only choose 10%, five people, you know, what would make you distinguish someone else from someone else? And
Yeah.
you know, that's an invaluable piece of advice.
Yeah. And I'd say with a lot of that, and having been on the sort of judging side of some of these things, is, you know, the getting yourself across artistically, as like authentically, like not trying to be anything else. Also having a really good plan and getting advice on a plan if you're not sure, because, you know, just saying like, I want to get some gigs, or I want to grow my audience, or I want to be famous, like they're not specific enough aims and goals, and you're not showing people what you're thinking about how you might do that. Even if you don't know exactly how you're going to do that, you know, you could be like, I'm going to spend some time researching this, or talking to that person, or looking for mentoring for this, you know, any of that stuff that just shows that you're like proactive and engaging in what you're doing. Because, you know, we are creative beings as artists, and it can be difficult to engage with stuff like forms. And you know, one of the things we've done recently with Launchpad is introduce like a video submission feature, so you can film yourself. It's like, you know, 30-second videos or a minute long videos and things. So if forms aren't your thing, or it's, you know, and for accessibility as well. And I know Help Musicians do the same thing. I think even some of the larger funds have started to do that as well. So that sort of thing's really helpful, but you've definitely got to, yeah, think a lot about where you're at and what you want to get out of it, and not just sort of willy-nilly apply, because even if you've got the best music, I mean, it can really, you know, nudge up the points, but the what you're trying to say is like so important, and, you know, how you're going to do it is one of the most important things, definitely.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, even just on that, I found the video thing, I mean, I actually found it really hard, but
yeah, not for
really,
everyone.
But really good. You know, like I'm quite natural. I sit down, I'm quite happy planning stuff out and writing stuff out. And I had to really think about what I was going to say. And it took me, you know, it did take me a bit of a longer time, I'll be honest, to do that. But actually, it really, probably even more so than the form, the words, writing it down really made me think, what am I saying? What do I want to say? How am I going to get it across in 40 seconds? Why this is so important to me? It was a good exercise.
Yeah, definitely. So lots of positives all around then, generally speaking.
Totally. Yeah.
That's what we've got to just push on with. Fight on. Keep doing what we're doing.
That's it. Got to, and up the north.
Up the north. On that note, I think that's quite a good place to end, isn't it?
Where else? Where could you go from there?
Please. Yorkshire.
So,
have you ever, you might not have, depending on what kind of band you're in, but have you ever had the Yorkshire chant? Yorkshire, Yorkshire, Yorkshire.
Yeah, I mean, I've managed to get that in on my new solo piano record as well. So,
yeah, I think maybe that needs to just be all Launchpad alumni need to just start. We need to form together as a band, as our own band, and start chanting it.
Exactly.
But yeah, anyway, I think we'll probably leave it there. And yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks for telling us your part in your own journey, and how things have helped, and how things you've learned from stuff. It's really, really useful, and I'm sure loads of people will find it really helpful to hear about. And is there anything you want to say that you're doing right now, or anything that you'd like to give a little plug to, or anything?
Yeah, why not? I mean, all my stuff's online, but I've got a new album coming out in November.
Awesome.
I haven't really announced that yet, but this is the thing that I got Help Musicians funding for. There's so much going on with it at the minute. I'm very busy, and it's some of it's great and some of it's difficult. I wouldn't ever dream of saying to anyone that everything is sorted and simple when you get funding. It's been amazing, but there's a lot of difficult stuff. But it's all good. COVID's not been helpful, but it's not been helpful to anyone. So look out for a new album in November.
Amazing. And for anyone else, check out the Launchpad website, which is launchpad-music.com, and obviously links are in our bio and all that kind of stuff. We're going to keep doing some of these little Instagram chats with more artists in the coming weeks. So yeah, keep an eye out. Thanks again, Sim.
Nice one.
Have a lovely evening.
Nice to see you. You too.
Bye. See you later.
See you. Bye.